What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and it is North London Derby weekend, people. We welcome, well, we don't welcome, but we face Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 4:30 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, and it promises to be a ferocious one. I, for one, are very nervous going into this. I mean, I started last week being like, oh my God, we're going to get battered 2-0 in the first 20 minutes. We need to hold Arsenal off in those first half an hour, and if we don't, it could get quite ugly. But as the days progress, I'm getting more and more belief sucked into me. I don't know if that's delusion or deluded belief, or we can actually get a result. But it promises to be a very interesting occasion, and always good when Arsenal come to N17, when Spurs fans line the streets. The Spurs fans are always up for this one, and I can't wait to get to 4:30 on Sunday. But how are you feeling? How are your nerves holding up, Sim?
Yeah, if you asked me 10 days ago, am I looking forward to this fixture? And I would have told you, I couldn't be further away from looking forward to this kind of fixture. After conceding,
and now you're even further away from that.
But we'd conceded the first goal 10 games in a row. We weren't playing well at all. There are question marks about Conte. I mean, obviously there's still question marks about all of that. But after that win, since we got that win against Palace, it was really important to break that duck before the North London Derby. Finally get a game where we are the one scoring the first goal rather than vice versa, rather than always starting slow. And obviously it was a very big win. They followed up with a game through to the next round of the FA Cup. And now we've had a week preparation. We're getting key players back. Kulusevski, hopefully Bentancur back in the team. Maybe Richarlison potentially on the bench. We'll have to wait and see. It's given me a bit more belief that at home in a North London Derby, in a game we haven't lost since 2014, a league game anyway, at home to Arsenal, it has given me a bit of belief that we can put a bit of a spanner in the works for their title charge on Sunday. I think when it comes to tactically how we're set up and how we're going to be, how we're lined up against Arsenal, I think how the two teams play against each other, we're kind of, in a sense, when we're at our best anyway, well suited to combating a team like Arsenal. We showed last season we played Man City at the Etihad that this kind of way of playing can be very effective against teams who leave lots of spaces in behind and come at you and who are going to kind of flood players forward and be kind of open to a counter-attack. I know Arsenal have, players like Saliba and Gabriel, very quick defenders. But I really believe with Kulusevski's back in the team, it really improves our chances of getting a result tenfold in this kind of game. If you even look back to the game of the Emirates, where we lost 3-1 early in the season, where, we deservedly lost. But if Kulusevski played that game, considering the chances and the decision-making that let us down at crucial periods, and especially in the first half.
Like that whole first half, yeah.
Like, we could have easily got more than a goal in that first half and could have gone in leading, and it could have been a very, very different game. And now having him back, it could. I'm hoping maybe it could lead to a change in fortunes for us.
Yeah, I really hope so. And Kulusevski, and not only Kulusevski, but Bentancur can be a massive plus for us in this game. I worry for our midfield if Bentancur isn't playing, to be fair. But let's talk about Kulusevski and Bentancur for a second, because if Kulusevski isn't playing, do you think our best port of call is the 3-5-2 formation? Because I feel like maybe flooding that midfield with three combative players might be the way to go for us, where we can sit in that low block, just soak up, absorb that pressure and spring on them and have Kane and Son up there and hurt them like they usually do.
I'll probably say yes, because if we don't play the 3-4-3, what we have to acknowledge is it's a formation which you're kind of giving up control in a way in midfield. That's the drawback to this formation. But on the flip side, when we do have our moments to progress the ball very quickly into the front line, if we can get it into the front line quick enough on the ball, then they can be devastating if given space. With that three lining up. Now, if we take Kulusevski out of that, obviously Bryan Hill's done well, but I don't know if having Bryan Hill is worth giving up the control in midfield for. Whereas Kulusevski you might think he outweighs it. That would be the benefit of having him. So I think I would go to a 3-5-2 if Kulusevski is out. However, big question marks will be in the wide positions if we do go that formation, because first of all, it puts a bit more pressure on one of the midfielders to be a bit more attacking and go and on a regular basis, not just making late runs in the box like Højbjerg does, like proper being like an attacking player. And second of all, puts more pressure on the wide players to dominate their wide areas even more, potentially than in a 3-4-3. And I don't know, especially Doherty anyway. I mean, I've got reservations about Perisic in this role, but especially someone like Doherty who needs support around him. If you isolate him like you do in a 3-5-2, how effective he would be, and how penned back he would be, and how if he would struggle with dealing with someone like Martinelli. I do have reservations about that as well. So I think ideally I would try and get a 3-4-3 with Kulusevski, but if he's out, I think you have to play 3-5-2, but that leaves its own problems.
What about, I'm just thinking a bit outside the box here, what about if Kulusevski is fit and still sticking with that 3-5-2 and maybe dropping one of Kulusevski or Kane into that midfield and maybe a more advanced position in the midfield where they can dictate the tempo of the game from the midfield and have Son and Kulu or Son and Kane up front?
Potentially, but I think if we had Kulusevski, I think he could have, if whoever they play at left back, to be honest, but especially if they play Zinchenko, as much as I think Zinchenko is a better player than Tierney, I think he's actually more gettable defensively, Zinchenko. I really believe Kulusevski would fancy himself in one-on-one situations against him, and I wouldn't want to take that away from him by playing him too centrally. I think I would want him to have a bit of a go at him if he's available. But if we're talking about Kane, potentially dropping Kane a bit deeper and playing Son and Kulusevski through the middle, that could work because they both could be decent runners, especially if Kane can get the ball quickly to someone like Kulusevski. He can find Son in behind. That could be devastating in that kind of role. I guess it's about being flexible in that kind of scenario. But I would like to see Kulusevski in a bit more kind of wide areas. It's not only taking on Zinchenko, but he likes to link up with Doherty as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely spot on. And there's a lot of key matchups on this pitch we'll get into a bit later. But let's look at the form of these two teams. Arsenal, the way they're coming into it, I mean, their form, not just generally throughout the season, but away from home has been what I've been most impressed with them this season. I mean, they're just kind of just swatting teams away, no matter who they play. I know they just drew with Newcastle at the Emirates, but away from home, I mean, what the how are they doing this week in, week out?
Because they're energetic, they get in your face, they're young, they're intense, they start games with a purpose. How many times have they scored this season inside the first 5-10 minutes? Like countless amount of times.
It's like every game, it seems.
It's not even just the beginning of the game, it's the beginning of each half as well. And because they're so confident, when you got players like Saka and Martinelli running in, attacking the spaces, and they're so extremely good in one-on-one situations as well, it's very difficult to deal with, to be honest, when especially it starts the games and the form they're in. And it's a confidence thing. They're full of confidence right now. Confidence and momentum are massive things in football if you can harness them and you can have that in your game. And Arsenal have that in abundance right now. They have that air of invincibility. Saka, when he's taking on someone, he's not second-guessing himself. He's going for it. He's taking him on. He's getting shots off. He's getting crosses in the box. He's not thinking. Like at times, Saka, when he's not confident, he'll get the ball and he'll second guess it. He'll think about having a go, and he'll just run back and pass it back and try and find the space. But the form he's in, he doesn't care who he's facing right now. He's taking them on. He's having a go at them. And they're reaping the benefits of that right now, and especially away from home. Most teams, even though they know they're facing an Arsenal, when you're playing at home, there's always that added pressure to get forward a bit, to attack a bit more, to leave those spaces, to throw a bit of caution to the wind when you're playing at home. And that is absolutely ripe for Arsenal. If you leave spaces for them, they will exploit. They've got people like Xhaka and Odegaard paying very smart passes into the likes of Martinelli and Saka as well, into the spaces. So you've got the combination of this very clever technical passes into very quick, good dribbling forwards, and it's at the moment very hard to deal with for a lot of teams right now. They're getting overwhelmed, coupled with the fact that you've got good passes now in the wing-back situation with White and Zinchenko, very clever players, and then you've got Saliba and Gabriel, who are very quick and strong centre-backs, pressing very hard up the pitch. So it's very difficult for teams to scout as well. And then you've got throwing Thomas Partey in there. So it's creating a formula right now, which is devastating at the moment. I do think they're still very young, and if they do go through a period where they lose confidence, it'll be a different team. But right now, what it feels like is I feel like that defeat to us last season, and then the subsequent kind of capitulation they had against Newcastle, I think they've taken that into this season, and they think they got ridiculed a lot over the summer for what happened, and obviously we all got top 4 and everything, and it looked like we were going to push on, and it seems as though they've used that energy, that hurt that they felt last season, and it's like they've decided we're just going to be absolutely ruthless this season. We're going to take no prisoners, and that's what it's looking like at the moment.
Well, thanks for making me feel great about the North London.
Well, you got to know your enemy. You got to know what you're going up against.
No, I'm joking. I think you're absolutely spot on. To be honest, absolutely spot on. When you're taking rivalries aside and you look at what Arsenal have achieved so far this season, it's incredible. To be honest, it really is. As opposed to where they were last season, fighting for top 4. They're a genuine contender for the title this year, and they're 5 points clear of Man City, which is incredible. But like you say, if they do get their confidence knocked, then we can beat them, and maybe they don't go and beat Man United next week. The season has a different outlook on it, and I, for one, are very worried coming into this game. I really am.
I think you'd be a fool not to be worried.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But on the flip side, like you say, we usually do well against these kind of teams, and we usually do well against this kind of philosophy of football. When you look back at the 2 games last year, Man City and Liverpool at Anfield, both away from home, we played really well in those games, and definitely should have won that Liverpool game and deservedly won that Man City game. So look, it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I'm just hoping that we don't concede early, because I think that's going to be a massive part of our downfall if we do concede early, because then it's gonna give them a lot more confidence, and once they're playing with confidence, it's really hard to stop them. And if we can just keep it tight for those opening 20 minutes, half an hour, get to half time at 0-0, get to half time, even 1-0 down or 1-0 up, whatever. If it's just one goal in it, I've actually got hope for that second half, and I think we can take the game if that is the case.
Yeah, I think the benefits to that is, despite the fact that we've gone behind so much, what we have shown is good character, ability late in the game to find energy, to either get late goals or at least put pressure on late on, and that's been a positive. And we've still shown our fitness. I think it's important. Yeah, it's super important not to give them that confidence early doors like they've been finding so often this season. I think if we can shut them out in the first 20 minutes or first half an hour, that'd be super important. But what I would also like to see is I think it's very important early doors as well for us to give them something to think about. I want to see an early chance or 2 or 3 crunching challenges early on in this derby, because all of a sudden I want them to know they're in for a game. Because right now they're flying, they're coming into this probably as much as they're going to obviously respect us. I really believe that they're coming into this wanting revenge for last season, probably a bit of arrogance because of how well they're doing this season. And they're going to, like last season, right, they only needed a draw, and there was a debate whether are they going to come into this game and just try and shut up shop and go for a draw, or are they going to be like kind of, not naive, but are they going to kind of feel like, look, we're going to win this game, we're going to play our way, we're going to come flying out the traps. And we were kind of debating what they were going to do. And I said, Arteta he has so much belief in his way of playing. He's going to come flying out the traps and he's going to try and win the game. But this season, there's not even a debate. We know what they're going to do. They're going to come absolutely flying at us. They're going to try and kill us. And why wouldn't you, the way they're playing? But we have to use that, and we have to counterpunch them. We can't just be defending deep the whole time. We need to show them that when we get the ball, we can hurt them as much as they can hurt us, and that's very, very important for me to be doing that in this game. Because if we're just defending all the time and just trying to get a few counters if and when, then it's going to be a very difficult game. It's only going to be a matter of time before they get that goal. We need to show that when they do get close to us or we do win the ball, we're attacking intently, fast ball movements, progressing and getting in behind and making sure we're finding those bits of quality. Because otherwise, Arsenal, I'm going to give them too much encouragement, and we need to let them know they're in a game.
Yeah, exactly. And if we don't, this game could easily bypass us by the 20th minute mark. We could be 3-0 down and game over pretty much. And we need to stop that from happening, from the get-go. We need to be on it from minute one. And it's something that we've been guilty of not doing a lot of times this season, especially in the last couple of months or so. So we need to start like animals. We need to be on the pitch. We need to be aggressive. We need to just be in their faces, really. Just stand up to them. They're top of the league. We want to spoil what they're trying to do this season. We got our own ambitions as well. So we really need to take the fight to them. When you're looking at this game, this is probably the first game at Tottenham that in the last 10 years that I haven't been confident of beating them in. And you're looking at the form, the head-to-head going into it, Spurs usually always win at home. Arsenal always usually win at the Emirates. But it's like a different feeling about it this time, isn't it? Just because of how good Arsenal have been.
There is, only because of Spurs' relative lack of form and Arsenal being so imperious, whether it be away from home or just the run they're on. Obviously, we go into this as underdogs. You have to.
For the first time in a long time.
Yeah, and just given, you have to respect the record Arsenal have this season. I think it's their 17 games, 15 wins, 14 wins, 2 draws and a defeat. You have to respect that. That's not luck. That's not because they've played good opposition or whatever. That's just because they're a solid, consistent team. And right now, I'm not saying we're rubbish, but we're not as good as them or we've been this season. So naturally, we're going to have to be underdogs, but it's still going to take a very big performance for Arsenal to come here and win. I still believe that we're going to show up. I think there's a lot of reasons and motivations going to this game. First of all, in the North London derby, but second of all, you got all those sub stories. Harry Kane going for to be the top goal scorer for Spurs of all time. He's going to be, in my opinion, super on in this game. He's going to be so motivated to try and break that record and make sure Spurs get the win. You've got a lot of, you've got Arsenal trying to get their revenge on Spurs. You've got Spurs for the first time in 10 games finally getting the first goal in a game, and maybe they found the right formula. There's a lot of different things going into it. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, it's the first time, I can't remember the last time we've gone into a home game against Arsenal underdogs like this. But I think that might suit us in a way anyway.
Yeah, it could suit us. It could suit us, the underdog thing, but it hasn't suited us for the last 10 years because we've been the favourites going into this game and we've duly delivered, haven't we? And it's usually what happens. Look, everyone says form goes out the window for derbies, but I don't think that's the case for the North London derby. It's usually whoever's at home wins the game, isn't it?
That's usually how it is, yeah.
And I think that saying form goes out of the window when derbies come around, I don't actually think that's relevant to the North London derby, to be fair. But it's like, cast your mind back to the end of last season. We're the ones that pipped Arsenal to 4th. How the hell did we let this happen? Arsenal to get as good as they got, and we just haven't kicked on. If anything, we've regressed a little bit from what we were showing in the second half of last season. We all thought coming into this, Champions League is the be-all and end-all. It will give us a chance to really kick on, get those signings in. Yeah, we did get a few signings in, and we've been unlucky in terms of injuries and stuff like that, which definitely you've got to take into account. But, Arsenal have Gabriel Jesus out injured, who was so pivotal to them when he's been fit. He goes out, and it doesn't look like they miss him whatsoever. How have we let it get to this stage? Like, why the hell are we the ones in the Champions League and they're the ones making £70 million bid for players like Mudryk, who are, kind of unknown, really?
I think it's the consequence of better planning. That's the reality. They've planned better than us. We went into the summer thinking we're going to be the ones to push on. If anything, hopefully, if anyone was going to make a title challenge out of us and Arsenal, it was going to be Spurs. That was going to be the hope. Conte in his second season, all these kind of things. But when you think of it in a different way, Arteta's been there 3 times as long. For 3 times as long as Conte's been there. Conte's been there a year, just over a year now. Arteta's now entering, I think in February 2019. December 2019 he took over. We're now in 2023. So he's good about entering his 4th year at Arsenal. He's had time to bed in his ideas. He's got rid of all the players in the squad who aren't up to what he wants, and he's now got a squad of players who are fully behind him and fully believe in his ideas and a team he can control. In the summer, if you ask Spurs fans what the biggest positions we needed, as much as we did need a Richarlison, we did need a Basuma, and they were vital positions, and we did need a Perisic, who's done well for us. The biggest positions we needed to really target in the summer were 2 centre-back options and a right wing-back. Those were the number one. Those were the main things that we needed to improve to take this team to the next level. And the reality is we got a right back from the Championship who Conte doesn't fancy, and we got a centre-back on loan till the end of the season who's good but isn't quite yet potentially that player who's going to take the defence to the next level. And what Arsenal did in the summer, what were the 3 biggest things they said in the summer, Arsenal, that they needed to take their team to the next level? They said they needed a striker, they said they needed a left back, and they needed a centre back. And what did they get? Jesus, Zinchenko, and they brought Saliba back. So they targeted and planned very strategically exactly what they needed, whereas Spurs maybe did make signings, but they didn't strategically pinpoint the exact areas this team needed upgrading and pinpoint with precision and go out and get them in the summer to the required standard. And that is why. And then obviously you add in the fact that we've got now Champions League, 2 games a week, a few injuries. So you couple that with those things with the fact that we're still relying on players that are not up to standard, and we're relying on players, and we're playing more games, so we have to run for more games, not just 1 game a week like last season. It's led to a bit of a decline, whereas Arsenal, because they're in Europa League, they can afford to rest some players and in that competition, and they can just go and concentrate pretty much on their on Premier League week on week with a better team now than they did have last season, first team anyway, and they're reaping the benefits of that massively.
It says it all, doesn't it? I mean, their key areas were left back and striker. They went and got Premier League winners in Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, quality players, right? Starters. We needed a right back and a centre back. We got a stopgap loan in Longley with no option at the end of it, and we got Jed Spence, who the manager won't use.
And we got no competition for Eric Dyer, which was another one where we were linked with a lot of it was a rumour last summer that we did also want another centre back, either to compete with Dyer or to upgrade on Dyer. We didn't get any central centre back, so we've pretty much been relying on Dyer for the whole season, and he's obviously getting a lot of stick. I've always been one to defend Dyer and say I don't think he's as bad as people say he is, but we should, when you're relying on him week in, week out, as if he's your main defender, like
he should be a squad player. He's a squad player at best.
We're treating him like he's like a Varane or like a Ruben Diaz. You know what I mean? When reality is he should be like Rob Holding. They're like, you know what I mean? He should be like Maguire. He should be someone who can step in when you need him, but he shouldn't be someone who like, and he can probably do a job, but he's not someone who we should be relying on every single game to be our main centre back. And at the moment, that's what's leading to Arsenal's ascendancy and Tottenham right now still faltering, because right now we have the same problems as we did when Conte first got appointed. We have exactly the same problems. They haven't been addressed. As much as, you know, you can say, well, we did spend money and all this kind of stuff. We did make signings.
It's the same problems when Nuno got appointed, to be fair.
It doesn't matter, but it doesn't
when Jose got appointed too.
Like, it doesn't matter how much you spend if you're not going to spend on the areas that we need most improving.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I've said it before. Like, I can't expect Conte to turn this set of defenders that we have into a defence which is title challenging. He might be able to scrape a top four with his defence. Even that, by the way, is looking like far away. But by the by, he got top four last season with this defence. It's not beyond the realms of possibility he could scrape a top four with this defence right now. But if we want this team to go to the next level, which it needed to at the end of last season, these things need addressing urgently. And at the moment, it's holding us back, and that's what's leading to us not being able to keep up with Arsenal at the moment.
That's the problem. They actually have ambition from boardroom down.
It's a plan. It's not even ambition. Well, it's part of it. But
of course, it's ambition. We have ambition just about to get into the top four. They don't care about furthering it past that. As long as they get their Champions League money and finish in the top four, they're completely happy with that, and they think that's completely fine. And unfortunately, that is as far as we're ever going to go, in my opinion, under Daniel Levy in the hierarchy. But let's not get into that debate.
I just think it's better planning. I don't even think, because I don't think Arsenal had ambitions before the season to win the league. I really don't. I think this is something that has just happened. They're ahead of schedule. I don't think at the beginning of the season they said, look, we're going to go for a title. I think it's something that they're way ahead of schedule, but it's a consequence of better planning. They've had a plan in place for many years, a strategy, and it's worked really well for them because they know exactly what they're doing. And this goes back to what we've been saying for a few weeks now. What is the plan at Tottenham? Do we have a strategic plan about what direction we're going? Because are we going to back Conte? If we are going to back Conte, then we have to sign players right now who are going to fit into his system. If we're not going to back him, or we're going to give him tools which are inadequate for how he wants to play, then what's the point? I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Let's look at the predicted lineup for Arsenal for this weekend. Gabriel Jesus and Reece Nelson out injured. Ramsdale in goal, Ben White right back, Saliba, Gabriel centre back, Zinchenko left back, Xhaka Partey in the middle with Odegaard, Martinelli and Saka on the wings with Nketiah up front. Starting off with Nketiah, I mean, I think that's a massive plus for us, them having Nketiah there instead of Gabriel Jesus. I think Gabriel Jesus would cause us no ends of problems. The way he drops deep and knits all the play together, and he's so hard to get the ball off with his tricky feet as well. But there are so many issues there on the pitch for us. I mean, Saka up against Perisic, Martinelli up against Matt Doherty really worries me. Really worries me. And Odegaard as well, drawing Dyer out of that centre-back position also really worries me. Odegaard has been one of the best, if not, in that position, he's probably been the best player this year. I think he's been better than De Bruyne this season.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. He's just got Player of the Month. It's just been announced by the Premier League for December. He's been phenomenal. There are tactically, either for whatever formation we play, I see big issues. If we go with 3-4-3, which I'm expecting, one benefit is that you could get Son and Kulusevski and Kane more involved, but the drawback is in the 3-4-3 is Odegaard is going to get a lot of space in behind Højbjerg and probably Bissouma or hopefully Bentancur. Let's assume it's Bissouma, which is most likely at this moment in time. Odegaard's going to get so much space. If not Odegaard, then if we decide to either drop a midfielder deep or draw a centre back out, you've got probably Xhaka finding a lot of space. Which is a big problem. You've got, as you say, if we play Matt Doherty at right wing back, which I'm assuming we are because he's our first choice at the moment, then Martinelli is going to absolutely be licking his lips at that potential prospect, and the same with Saka up against Perisic. At least with Martinelli, if he does beat Doherty, you do have Romero backing him up. With Longley, he's still again not the quickest, and he's aggressive, but he's not like overly aggressive. And Saka's definitely going to fancy his chances on that side. I think he got a lot of joy against Perisic and Longley back at the Emirates as well.
I actually might if it was up to me, side with Davis over Longley for this game, because I just feel like in his one-on-one defending, Davis is a better defender than Clement Longley. I think as a player, I think Longley is a better player than Ben Davis, and I prefer him as a player in terms of bringing out the back and his ball-playing ability. But as an out-and-out defender, which we're going to need on the weekend, I think Ben Davis might be the one.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think when it comes to, I think Davis is probably slightly quicker than Longley. I don't think there's much in it when it comes to pace. I think strength-wise, Longley is better. I think positioning-wise, Longley's pretty better. I do think passing-wise, he's better as well. What Davis is better at is he's more comfortable coming out into the wide areas, and he's more comfortable defending one-on-one than Longley is, because Longley likes
he's a bit more
protector.
Combative as well than Longley.
I don't know. I think Longley might be more combative.
Do you think
Davis.
so?
Yeah.
I disagree with that, because I feel
combative.
like a lot of times in the one-on-one situations where you're asking Longley to be super aggressive up against his attacker, I feel like he's found wanting a lot of times.
I think Longley's more aggressive. What Longley's actually better at than Davis, he's a bit more proactive in his defending. He does it more than Davis. He gets in front of his man a bit more. He likes to get closer to his man. Davis is a bit more reactive when it comes to defending, in my opinion. That's why I see it. So it's a difficult one. It's a very difficult one. Which one to go with, to be honest. Either one. I think Saka's going to be licking his lips.
Absolutely.
To be honest, on that side. When it comes to Perisic, at least he's a bit more. Obviously, he's got that experience there, and hopefully he gives Saka something to think about going the other way. Whereas I don't think Doherty, as much as I think Doherty's good going forward, he's not a great dribbler. He's not good at crossing. He doesn't have pace really. So when it comes to giving Arsenal something to think about going the other way, I don't think they're going to be too bothered about Matt Doherty. The only thing you've got to stop with Matt Doherty is clever touches in and around the penalty area and getting at the back post. If you stop that, you pretty much stop his threat. You can't. He's not really going to be taking people on and driving into the space. At least Perisic, on that side, Saka has to track back Perisic. He can't allow Perisic to get a cross in, right? He can't allow Perisic to get into one-on-one situations with Ben White. He needs to track back. Martinelli might half cheat and feel like, look, I don't really have to track back. I can kind of half track back Doherty, but you know what? If he has the ball and then he loses it, I'm going to be in all this space. I don't have to really go back all the way. That's why I'm worried about Matt Doherty on that side, and also Martinelli. If he gets in front of Doherty, he's going to definitely fancy his chances in taking him on.
Would you consider, hear me out here, because it's probably a bit crazy to some people what I'm about to say, in terms of starting Sessegnon on the left and Emerson on the right, just for their pace and just for the pace, really. I mean, we've seen it in the past, last season against Liverpool, where we played Sessegnon and Emerson, and both had a really good game.
I would want Perisic in there, because I first of all from set pieces, and I do think as much as he's a bit older and they might fancy their chances against him in defensive situations, I think we need him because he offers that attacking threat, which we're not going to have without him. And we need, in my opinion, we have to ask questions of Arsenal. We need to get them thinking the other way. And I don't think Emerson and Sessegnon together. I would consider Emerson and Perisic, to be honest. I would seriously consider that. But I would, or even Sessegnon and Perisic. But I think we need Perisic in that team. I think there are cons to it having him in the team, but I think the pros, in my opinion, outweigh the cons of having Perisic.
Because we played. Those wing backs we actually played at Man City as well, didn't we? Sessegnon played at Man City.
We played Emerson and Sessegnon at Man City, yeah.
I mean, they both had stellar games in both those games, and it's not like they diminished our creative ability in those games, because we created a lot of chances, especially in that Man City game.
In the Man City game, yeah, Kane had the game of his life. I mean, yeah, they had good games, but Sessegnon's been so out of form. I mean, I don't think I'd bring him in and trust him to put in a good performance right now, Ryan Sessegnon, in this kind of game. I do think Perisic for me is the way to go. Whether it be on the right or the left, I would start him.
In terms of the ones to watch, we've gone for Saka and Martinelli. I mean, we've given you why they're going to worry us this weekend. But 6 goals, 6 assists for Saka in 17 games, with Martinelli 7 goals and 2 assists. I mean, both of them are just rapid, aren't they? And we're going to have such a torrid time dealing with them. And like you say, for all the reasons that we've just said in terms of an aging wing-backs against fresh, young wing-backs, it's going to be difficult, very difficult.
Yes, we're going to have to be smart about it. It's going to be, I think, if we played a 3-5-2, you could maybe even contain the wingers a bit more, just because you got potential defensive midfielders coming over and helping. I just feel like we will lack width massively when we're going forward. We won't be able to attack the wide areas, which is where Arsenal leave a lot of space. But Martinelli and Saka have been absolutely phenomenal this season. Especially, what's really impressed me is obviously they're scoring goals, but it's their ability to take people, to consistently take players on.
It's relentless, isn't it?
And in one-on-one situations and beat them relentlessly. Like, you think, like, because you got players, for example, like Son. I love Son. I think Son's a world-class player, but when it comes to dribbling in one-on-one situations, like, he is nowhere near as relentless and as consistently able to beat his man as I've seen Saka and Martinelli are. It's like they're combining their strength and pace and body movement to be able to get in situations like they're completing dribbles 3-4 times a game, which might not sound like a lot, but it is a lot. It's really, really impressive. It's very, very hard to do, especially in this day and age where defenders are getting stronger and they're getting quicker. Yet Martinelli and Saka are so good. And what Martinelli showed for me is, like, if you give him the ball to feet, he's really strong in his one-on-one dribbling. But as well, if you push high, and you try and get close to him so he's not getting the ball, he can spin in behind you, run in behind, like he did for that fourth goal against Brighton. They tried to do something different, push higher up, and then he just spun in behind and attack the space, and he can do that as well. That's why I feel like Son, for me, could do better. I feel like, obviously, you're not better in attacking the space. I think he's one of the best attackers in the league at that, if not the best, at running in behind and attacking the space. But he's not as good with ball to feet, running at players like Martinelli and Saka, and that's the difference there. As much as I think Son is a much better finisher than both of them, but they're just so hard to deal with. Both of those players, they can go on they're also quite two-footed. They can go on the inside or the outside as well, and it's going to take a lot to stop them. And it's going to take a good tactical decision from Conte to stop them, but doesn't mean to say they're unstoppable.
No, of course they're not.
And if we get it right, we can.
Newcastle did a job on them at the Emirates and stifled them. They hardly had a shot on goal, never mind a goal. And it's what we got to do. And a player that we haven't mentioned today, Nkuti Romero, is going to be so important, if not maybe probably our most important player on the pitch on Sunday when it comes to it, 4:30 kickoff. And another player is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, who hasn't really come back from the World Cup in the best way. His form isn't the greatest, and I think he scored against Brentford, but I think his performances since coming back from the World Cup haven't been the greatest, and we need Højbjerg back to his best if we're going to get anything out of this game. And those two players, because not only do they help out in defence, but they help out going forward as well, and we need both of those players to have games of their lives. And Romero, I've been really happy with Romero since he's come back into the side, coming back from the World Cup. I think he's come back in a really good way and he's performing really well. And it's no coincidence that since him coming back has coincided with our first 2 clean sheets in a long time. So I think these two players are going to have games of their lives, aren't they? Yeah,
Romero's going to be absolutely massive in this game, no doubt about it. It's going to be so important being on that front foot. And I think when it was I think he'd prefer to play against a striker like Nketiah than he would against someone like Jesus, who's going to drop deep. He's going to take him on. He's going to try to dribble around him, and he's strong and quick. Whereas Nketiah, that's not his strengths. He likes to be running in behind. He likes to trying to get on the end of crosses and things like that. And I think Romero, and I think all three of our defenders, to be honest, would much rather face a striker like Nketiah, who's more in the penalty area than outside the penalty area.
Especially
like
Eric Dyer, man.
Yeah,
Eric Dyer would just lose his shit with Gabriel Jesus running around like a madman. At least Nketiah, he's a fox in the box. He's a poacher. You know where he's going to be. And I think Dyer can actually stifle Nketiah, but I don't think he could for Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, I think Jesus would have given our defence a lot of problems. So it is a benefit that Nketiah's there, but doesn't mean he's not without threat. That's for sure.
Of course.
Yeah,
he's a great finisher, Nketiah. He really is.
Yeah, if you get to,
he's a better finisher than Jesus, in my opinion.
Probably, if you get to those positions, he's probably a bit more clinical than Jesus. I have to agree with that. I just don't think his all-round play is as strong as someone like Jesus. But it's Romero's gonna his proactiveness is gonna be very, very vital in this game. And I don't think he's still yet to play. Is he yet to play a North London derby? Did he play
at the Emirates?
I think. The Emirates. Yeah, he hasn't played at home yet in the North London derby.
No, he's only been here for that one game, and he obviously pulled out just before the game, didn't he?
Yeah. So look, it's going to be very vital that he's on top of his game. Højbjerg, it's going to be a difficult one for him because obviously he's if he's next to Bentancur, he's usually a better player. Højbjerg. For some reason, Bissouma hasn't quite got to grips with the role yet, and it's kind of, I feel like maybe it's hindered the partnership when they're together. Maybe Højbjerg feels like he has to do, I don't know what it is, but Bissouma just, when he's played in a double pivot, hasn't quite got to grips with the positioning or also on the ball, how to drive forward. He's kind of lacking in a lot of these things. He keeps getting caught out by opposition midfielders, get caught the wrong side a lot of the time. And it's peculiar because you associate Bissouma with someone with big engine, someone who can cover a lot of ground, someone who's very strong, fast as well. And the fact that he hasn't been able to nail down that pivot after 6 months is a bit... I can't put my finger on why, but hopefully Bentancur is back. Would you consider Ollie Skip for this game if Bentancur
pop him after Sarr for me.
You think you'd consider Sarr?
100%. I think Sarr...
Big game though.
I know it's a massive game, but I think Sarr has shown more coming on against Villa, coming on in the Crystal Palace game and starting that Portsmouth game, getting man of the match. He's shown a lot more just in those 3 games than Bissouma has, in my opinion, all season. And Skip is not in a good way at the moment. He's not playing well. So I think for me, I would actually start... If Bentancur's not fit, I go for Højbjerg and Sarr.
Interesting. You wouldn't go for Bissouma?
No, I don't. We can't risk Bissouma's madness in this game. He gives away a big chance every single game. Pretty much.
But is it not more of a risk playing a young player who's making his second start in a Premier League?
No, because I think that Sarr has shown... Look, he's only shown it in bite-sized sample pieces. Look, it's a risk. Obviously, it's a risk.
I think it's more of a risk, I would have to say. I'd have to. You can't say he's less a risk when he's made one Premier League... Well, not
I understand that. I understand that, but Bissouma just hasn't shown anything in a midfield 2. He just if it's a midfield 3, I'm happy for Bissouma to play. But in a midfield 2, Bissouma has not shown anything to tell me that he should be starting in this game. When Sarr, yes, he's only started 1 game, but he's actually shown attributes that tells me that he's getting more ready than Bissouma.
Yeah, I guess if you're taking those, but you're taking very small sample sizes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you got the bigger sample size on Bissouma to show us that he's not ready.
Yeah, but would I rather take the gamble that he gets up to speed in this kind of game, knowing the kind of quality Bissouma can bring, or take the gamble that Sarr is going to step up in a young player like Sarr will step up in a very big game like this? And imagine if he gets completely, crucified. How much how much that could affect him. Like I wouldn't want to risk. Putting him under the gun like that. I don't know.
In my opinion, you got to play the players that are playing well at the moment. Bissouma ain't playing well at the moment. Yes, Sarr hasn't played too much, but he is playing well, and he looks at home in games in the Premier League so far. Coming on against Villa, like I said, coming on against Crystal Palace, starting against Portsmouth in the FA Cup, albeit League One opposition. I think that that you got to take the risk. In my opinion, I think it's a risk playing both of them. And I think that when Bissouma's played, especially in that middle 2, in a middle 3, I'm fine with Bissouma, but when it's in a middle 2, he has not shown enough, and he gives away big chances every game. And if you give away chances like that to Arsenal, you're going to concede. That's just the facts of the matter. And he just doesn't fill me with any sort of confidence playing. And Sarr has filled me with confidence whenever I've seen him play.
Yeah, but he's come on. We're 3-0 up against Villa. We're 3-0 up against Palace when he comes on. Was it 2-0 when he came on?
Yeah.
We're 2-0 up against Palace when he comes on. I know against Villa we're already losing, but he only played like 5 minutes. And against Portsmouth, yeah, he had a good game, but it's a League One side.
But you
like
can't...
this is like you're asking him to play at 20 years of age for his first start in a Premier League game to start against Arsenal and expecting him to put in a performance where we need a result. And I don't know if that's fair to put him in that position.
Look, I get what you're saying, but I agree with you in some sense, but that's just the situation we're in at the moment. And I just don't think Bissouma's good enough at the moment. We can't just keep going on what he's shown at Brighton. We need to see what he's shown in a Spurs shirt, and he hasn't shown anywhere near enough in a Spurs shirt to make me say, here, go and start that North London derby in the middle two, because he hasn't looked good enough in the middle two.
I'd rather bank on him learning from... Look, things change. You go through periods where you're not playing well, and then it finally starts to click. And I would bank, if I was a betting man, I would bank on Bissouma learning from his mistakes more than I would bank on Sarr having his first Premier League start against Arsenal, in my opinion.
You never know what can happen in these kind of games, especially, you know, Danny Rose got given his debut against Arsenal. I know he got taken off at half-time, but he scores that banger in the first few minutes, and we go on to beat Arsenal for the first time we've beaten them in a very long time. And I'm sure it's happened before. I mean, I think Sandro, didn't he make his first game in the North London derby as well? I know we lost 4-1, but he had a really good game. He was our best player that day. So, you know, you never know what can happen in these kind of games. And I'd prefer to go with the form players than the players that have the most experience.
Fair enough.
But that's our North London derby preview. We're going to get into BetMate in a second. But before we do, it's score predictions time.
Well, look, a lot of it depends on who's fit, who's available, who's going to be starting. I do believe if Kulusevski and Bentancur are both fit, I believe the chances of us getting a result in really, really improving this game. And I think that in the way we play is set up to take advantage of the weaknesses of Arsenal. But we have to be on our game. We have to be our 100% from minute one, and we have to be our very best to get anything from this game. Having said that, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Spurs.
You know what? I've been thinking about this all week. What's the score going to be? What's the score going to be? This is going to be 3-2. This game is going to be 3-2. I'm just not sure who it's going to be 3-2 to. But, you know, I have to side with Spurs, don't I? So I'm going to go 3-2 to Spurs. I think we might go down early. And I think if we just keep it into a one goal margin going into half-time, I think that we can turn it around, and I think we can do something. So I'm going to go 3-2 to Spurs with the fans behind us. It's going to be an intense atmosphere. We saw how they folded under the intense atmosphere last year.
Do you think?
So I'm hoping for the same.
Do you see the atmosphere being the same as last season? Yeah, on Sunday.
Up until a point. Yeah, up until a point. What? I think if we start losing and we go 2-0 down or something early, it could turn quite toxic. But I think no matter what, the Spurs fans always show up at home to Arsenal.
I know, but do you see it like, you know, the scenes before the game last season, we were lining the streets with the flares.
It'll be the same.
You reckon it'll be the same on Sunday?
I think so, yeah.
I hope you're right. I've got a feeling it might not be.
I think it will be.
I hope you're right.
From the noises I'm seeing around social media and stuff, I think it will be.
People are
I think it will
congregating.
Yeah.
They're making plans.
Yeah,
okay,
making
good.
plans.
Okay, good.
The flares are out.
I was just thinking because, you know, there's not as much riding on the game on Sunday as there was last season. Like last season was it was a Thursday night. It was a big occasion. We knew it was like do or die. There was so much riding on that game, and I just feel like there's a different feeling this season.
But you know what it is. You know what it is.
I'm not saying I'm wrong. I don't know.
You know what it is. It's like right now, it feels like I've gone back in time like 15 years. Like Arsenal fighting for league titles, Spurs not doing very well to what we should be doing. And back in those days, Spurs fans used to do, it was no different. You know, we used to line the streets. We would want to do anything possible to stop them going on a title charge. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be no different this weekend. And I think it's going to have that similar vibe. And if we do beat them and somehow go on and beat Man City next weekend, you know, the season's going to have a different outlook on it. So look, I'm going 3-2. Sim's going 2-1. I want to know your score predictions in the comment section below. But let's get on to BetMate now, the brilliant gaming app where it's fantasy league and everyone goes head to head in a big league. It's a £750 guaranteed pot for the North London derby this weekend. And if you're a new user, type in the code WATTV20 for free. £20 for you to play with. It is only £5 to enter the North London derby pot, so you get to enter a few more games as well with that free 20 quid. But let's get into our teams and let's see how we go. Let's start off with you, Sim.
I've gone for Lloris in goal because I'm anticipating many saves. You get a point for each save you make, so I've got him in goal. I've got the wing backs. I've got Ben White and Ivan Perisic, both attacking really well this season. I'm hoping Perisic maybe with his set pieces could be very vital in this game. Midfield, I've gone for Kulusevski and Granit Xhaka. I think Kulusevski is going to be back in the team, and I believe he could play a big role in our attack. And obviously Granit Xhaka has got a lot of bite in the midfield, and he's playing well at the moment. And then up front, Harry Kane, captain, because I think he's guaranteed to score in this game, in my opinion. And Bukayo Saka, who's on great form at the moment, and he's going to fancy his chances of getting something.
Too many Arsenal players in that team.
I know.
Way too many Arsenal.
I don't feel right, to be fair.
Did you have a shower straight after making that team?
100%. I was doing it in the shower. Making my team.
Let's move on to my team, and I've got a very Tottenham-heavy team with Hugo Lloris in goal. Back two of Cuti Romero in Ivan Perisic. I think Romero is going to be so vital to this game, and I think he's going to be bang on it as well with his interceptions and blocks and tackles and everything that he does. Perisic can do something going the other way, in my opinion. In the midfield, I've gone for Højbjerg and Xhaka, which is going to be a key matchup in this game, where they're going to be like a bull in a china shop, both of them. And then up front, I've gone for Kane captain and Son vice captain. So a very Tottenham-heavy team. But I'm backing the boys this weekend. North London derby, you have to do it. So, yeah, that is our BetMate teams. Once again, the score predictions are 3-2, 2-1, both to Spurs. Let me know yours in the comment section below. But that is our match preview. And then we move on. So it's your time to have your say now. So if you want to have your say, the link is in the community section for gold members. If you want to get that gold membership, just scroll down. The link is in the description. But just before we do get on the guests, we've got a few super chats to get through. And El Dante says that if Kulusevski and Bentancur are back starting, we will win. Thank you guys for all your good work. Come on, you Spurs. Whatever happens Sunday, the crowd, do your bit. And that's important as well. I think the crowd definitely has a massive part to play. And I think that's why, you know, that is why you're seeing the home team win in North London derbies every single year. Arsenal, whenever we go there, you know, they raise their game in terms of on the stands, and we do the same when they come here. So it's a very important message that.
Yeah, it's going to be vital. The fans turn up. We know for the game against Villa, it was on New Year's Day. It kind of felt like everyone was like tired, had a bit of a hangover, and it filters through to the players. But on Sunday, I'm sure it's going to be loud. It's going to be intense, and hopefully we create a hostile environment before the game on the streets and everything. When the team bus comes in, they know they're in the game. We saw how last season they crumbled a bit, and we'll have to see whether they've learned from that or not.
Exactly. And if you're going to the game this weekend, get there early, guys. Get there early. Show your support for the team. Spurs song sheets as well have been sharing stuff around saying that get inside the ground early, get to your seat at least 10-15 minutes before the game and wave your scarves, wave your flags, wear all white. Make it a really intense atmosphere for these Arsenal fans and players to come and play in, because that is definitely going to be one step of the battle. Next super chat is from Ibi. He says, Guna here. Boo. Kulu is who I'm worried about. His timing of the pass is spot on. Zinchenko breaking the lines with passes into Xhaka, you'll need to try and stop.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Zinchenko's really good, like playmaking wing back, a fullback. He's like comes in central areas. He also can do the role of, you know, getting to the final third, overlapping, but he likes to be a bit more central. But that's why I would have Kulu there out wide, because I think he can try and exploit that. As much as it's one of their biggest strengths and it's going to be difficult to stop, we need to make it a weakness for them, and I think Kulu could do that.
Yeah. Jaden with the super chat saying, I wish Rishi was available to wind up Xhaka. And it's interesting, actually, because I have noticed a couple of times, maybe more last season than this season, but I have noticed it this season, especially at the latter stage against Newcastle. You can get under this team's skin, can't you? That's one way of trying to beat them, because they're a young side, they're full of energy, but you can get under their skin, especially for the players like Xhaka and Gabriel at the back. That's what we need to try and do. We need to try all the shithousery. We need to pull out all the stops, and Romero is going to be so vital to that.
Yeah, of course. We're going to have to try and get under their skin as much as possible, make it a battle, because I think if we make it a battle, it suits us. Arsenal, though, they're not like they're not maybe like you've got to remember last season when we brutalised them in our ground. They had like Cedric, Rob Holding, Lokonga. And Nketiah, Nketiah's going to play this time, but they're all playing. It's going to be different this time. They're going to have that experience. Partey's going to be back. They're going to have an experienced backline. So they're not. It's not going to be as easy maybe in previous years to get under their skin, but it's definitely possible.
And Jaden as well with the super chat saying, I am worried about this game. Hope we win. You and me both, Jaden. You and me both. But I think it's time for you guys to have your say. So let's bring on some guests. And who is up first? Oh, look who it is. It's me. It's KPV.
Hey, Kyle.
What up, boys? What up,
How you
lad?
doing, Kyle? You all right?
Yeah, all good.
How you feeling coming into this one? Are you nervous?
I am nervous a bit, I must say.
Tell me your thoughts.
Oh God, I heard something. Shit. Kulu, I heard is back. I heard it. I saw it on Twitter. So he's back. Kulu 60 is back. Oh, shut up.
Is everything all right,
Kulu.
Carl?
Yeah, I can hear just something in the corridor. People are talking too loud. I can hear, but I can't get signal in my flat because my thing's not working. It can only be here, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm nervous for this game, man. Like, we always beat them when they come to our ground. Their record is poor, as I've been saying to everybody. They haven't won there since 2014. Thomas Waziski. I'm glad I missed the goal because I was late going to the pub to watch it, so I'm glad I missed it. But that guy's not there. We have probably a good squad to beat them. Kulu, he was immense. And let's hope. Yo.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit loud, but just give us your score prediction, Kyle, and maybe we'll let you go.
All right, mate. 5-0, Kane hat-trick. And Kulu.
Come on, KPV, come on.
Right, lad. I'll see you, but hopefully on Monday after the game.
Big up, KPV, big up. 5-0 to the Spurs, come on.
Bye-bye.
Love that.
KPV
absolutely
said so.
Love that. And that's the bottom line, because KPV said so. Let's go on to our next caller, Mikey. How you doing, Mikey? Long time no speak. How you been?
I've been really... Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, can you hear us?
Been really busy with uni work. I've had to really crack down on it. I'm in year 2 and I've had a bunch of stuff to do, but I'll always make time for a North London derby.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Talk to me about your nerves coming into this game.
Well, it's not ideal because in the last few years where it's always been we lose at their ground, they lose at our ground, there's been relatively equal footing or we've been just ahead. Now the gap is probably the biggest it's been in terms of them being above us in quite a few, well, in at least since 2016, I can think. So I feel like, or perhaps even earlier. So this is like the first like home derby that I'm actually, we have if we show up like we have the past few games, second half Palace aside, we will lose this game because they are flying. 5 points clear, still with 2 games against City, admittedly, but they are flying and you can't deny the quality that they're showing. As much as it pains me to say, living in a house with 3 Arsenal fans, it's pretty painful. Yeah,
don't envy you, Mikey. Don't envy you. But Mikey, tell me.
No, it's okay. I've got the mural. I've got the mural up.
Exactly. Standing strong. Tell me, what do we need to do on Sunday to get a result? Do you think?
be defensively solid for a change. Don't try and combat the amount of attacking threat that they have. I know that we have Harry Kane, but honestly, we need Son to be at his flying best. We need Kulusevski back. Now, because admittedly Brian Hill has been showing promise, but in a game of this quality against Arsenal, I think we do need his deliveries and his his drive. He just pushes us forward. He's a brilliant player in that respect. And Romero is going to be key, but they've got the battle I'm worried about is who are we going to play down the right hand side, because Gabriel Martinelli's been brilliant as was mentioned in the combined 11 you guys did with lead judges. He's been brilliant, and if Emerson or Doherty plays, Emerson is Emerson, and Doherty ain't defensively sound, so that battle is going to be interesting. Perisic against Bukayo Saka, I feel like that's going to be a lovely little battle to watch. But it's just all over the pitch. We need improvement.
Mikey, tell me on you're talking about the wing backs. You're talking about Martinelli and you're talking about Emerson. Who would you start on the right? Because Doherty isn't the quickest or the most defensively sound kind of wing back. Do you have worries about him going up against Martinelli, or do you think what he would bring is more than maybe having a more defensively sound Emerson there?
I honestly like the pace and power. I know this is obviously not going to happen because we all know it's not going to happen, but he wouldn't get his first start against Arsenal anyway. But if Jed Spencer played more, we would be wanting him to play this game because his pace and power would be more of a match for Gabriel Martinelli. But if Jed Spence isn't an option, which he never is, I would probably have to say, probably Doherty, just because if we're not gonna be defensively sound, we may as well try and outscore them. So Doherty is the more attacking threat, and he has started. So I just about edge towards Doc over Emerson, but it's not a. It's a far cry from the right back conversations we want to be having, especially with our links to Pedro Porro constantly being told pay his release clause or else. And we're like, well, we're not going to pay his release clause. And they're like, well, pay it or go. So I heard about the links to other transfers being a smokescreen perhaps, but still, it's annoying. It's annoying.
It's a smokescreen for Emerson. That's what it is.
Exactly. Tell me about Harry Kane, Mikey. He's 2 goals away from becoming Tottenham's all-time leading goal scorer. Does he do it on Sunday?
Yes, but I mean, obviously he can do it. He can do it in any game, especially in this game. He can do it. Will he do it? Is another question entirely. Can he do it? Of course he can. Will he do it? I can't tell you. I think he might grab one. I'm not sure about a brace, though. I think he might grab one.
If he gets one, he's level, right? So if he gets one, he's actually will be top goal scorer for Tottenham.
Yeah, I'll be level with great Jimmy, with Greavesy, with great Jimmy Greaves. So that'll be that's an achievement in itself. I don't know if he breaks it, but I think he definitely will at least tie it. That's my prediction. And just
score prediction.
Forget you guys do this.
Get with the program, Mikey.
It's been so long. No, honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. You know what? 3-1 to Tottenham.
Come on, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Not quite as confident as KPV, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm positive in general because I got a Spurs membership for Christmas, and I'm going to the AC Milan game, so I'm buzzing for that, if I'm honest, and the West Ham one, so I'm buzzing for those.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a good time, but thanks for coming on today, Mikey, and we shall speak to you soon.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
All right, let's keep going, guys. Who do we have next? Alohi. Hello.
Alohi.
Hello.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you absolutely fine. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thank you. Are you a first-time caller?
No, I called after the Brentford match with Brian was on, and I talked to him for a little bit.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
well, first time we're speaking to you anyway, so welcome.
Thanks for
Big
having me.
game. No problem at all. Thanks for coming on. Big game this weekend, obviously. Big North London derby. How are your nerves holding up coming into it?
It's probably the first one in a while that I haven't been looking forward to. Um, we're at home, so hopefully we'll have the upper hand there. But we're not great in form. So I mean, they always say form goes out the window for a derby. So I mean, hopefully that rings true this weekend.
Yeah, you'd like to think so, but let's hope that the current theme of North London derbies also just rings through, that the home team usually wins it. But when you're looking at this game tactically, how would you like to see Spurs set up? Would you like to see the usual 3-4-3 formation, or maybe add another one into midfield and use the 3-5-2?
Well, if Kulusevski is like 100% fit, I think we have to go for the 3-4-3. We haven't lost a single match with him starting, so I think it's just the obvious choice for us to play the 3-4-3 as long as he's completely fit. I do like the idea of overloading the midfield, especially since they have all their midfielders are in great form. So it's going to be hard for us in the double pivot, especially if Basuma's the one starting and with his deficiencies in the double pivot. It'll be hard for him to deal with the likes of Xhaka, Partey, and Odegaard. But I'll take the 3-4-3 just because we're already defensively deficient. So we'll probably just have to outscore them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try. Looking at the wing backs, obviously, look, they're coming up against two in-form wingers in Martinelli and Saka, very young, fast, strong at dribbling. How would you go about combating that out wide? Do you stick with Perisic and Doherty, who we've going for recently playing well, or do you think maybe add some more pace in Emerson or Sessegnon?
Yeah, to deal with Saka, we're gonna have to double up on him, and Perisic, he's okay defensively. I don't know if we're gonna go with Davies on the left or Longley.
Who would you like to see?
Um, Honestly, I'd probably like to see Longley in the middle and Davies on the left,
Interesting.
just so we can have that. We could have the distribution of Longley with the added benefit of the strength of Davies. So that's what I would probably like to see, but that's probably not going to happen. So based on who we play on the left, center back role, I would like to see Perisic on the left, and then on the right, I think we're just gonna have to go with Doherty, seeing as though Emerson is really good defensively, but we if we're going to if we want to be able to outscore them, we're gonna have to have that. We're gonna have to have Doherty making those extra runs for us to overload the box on the offensive side. So defensively, I think we're already deficient, like I said. So we're gonna have to just pray that Saka and Martinelli don't cook up our wingbacks.
In terms of the midfield coming into the game this weekend, if let's say for argument's sake Bentancur is out, who would you like to see take up that spot next to Pierre? Would it be Bissouma, Sarr, Skip? Who would you like to see there?
I really did like the idea of maybe bringing in Sar, but like you said, Ben, it's going to be um, very hard for him to make his like Premier League debut in the
Sim.
North London derby. So I'll probably go with Basuma, just because he is more experienced. Um, even with his deficiencies in the double pivot role, um, if he just finds himself in better the reason I think Basuma has not been playing well in the double pivot is he's just been on. He's found himself in like terrible positions. He always is facing our goal and losing the ball. Um, so we need him to be able to maybe do the role of Bentancur, going higher up the pitch, playing more of a box to box rather than an anchor man. So I'd probably go with Basuma.
Interesting. All right. Well, how do you see the game going? What's your score prediction?
Earlier in the week, I was saying 2-2, but I have to back the boys, so I'll say 3-1 Spurs.
Come on, love it.
3-1.
Absolutely love it. Thanks for coming on today, my friend, and we'll speak to you
for having
soon.
me on.
No problem at
Come
all.
on, you Spurs.
Come on. We got a super chat or members chat from Rich and Rio. Member for 5 months. Big up. Says, morning, guys. Good work. I'd start Papa and Hill. Tell them they have 45 minutes and plan to change for Kulu and Bentancur. If all good, change at 66 instead. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they'll bring that energy, but we could be 2-0 down by then, so I'm not worried about.
That's the problem. Let's bring on our next guest, and it is the Jorical people. How you doing, Jory?
Go on, Jory. Is that a turtleneck I see?
No, it's a standard issue in Iceland in the winter. It's kind of like thermo underwear.
See, I thought for a second I thought it was like Steve Jobs. You were going to give the new iPhone.
Well, it does look right. So yeah.
Yeah, looking good though. Looking professional.
Yeah, thank you.
But we've got business to attend to this weekend with the North London Derby. Serious business. And look, we go into this North London Derby 11 points behind Arsenal. In what has been, they've been blowing teams away. We're obviously struggling to keep up with them at the moment. Can I ask you?
Just make us more depressed, Sim.
If we look, we've won our last game major against Newcastle in the Premier League anyway. If we do beat Arsenal on Sunday, we cut the gap to 8 points. Is there any Is there any thought about catching them, or is that still you're not even thinking about that right now?
Well, I'm maybe not thinking about catching them anymore. Like as bad as that sounds, I mean, I've been worried for a long time about Arsenal actually winning the league, But then I had a slight epiphany, and I feel okay about it. I can tell you now, guys, Arsenal are not going to win the league.
Come on.
Yeah, it's based on my reasoning. You see, Arteta is actually Arsenal's version of Poch. So they're going to get almost there, but they're not going to get there. So
I tell you the difference, Jory. The difference between Arteta and Poch is the people that got behind them backing them. That's the difference. Whereas we needed signings to push on, we signed no one. They're putting in 70 million bids for Mudryk.
Definitely, and that would actually kind of prove the point. I do agree with you there. Another difference is Poch has a lot of class. I wouldn't say Arteta has that at all. So
I'd agree with that as well.
Yeah.
No,
I'm thinking in terms of in terms of how Arsenal. I mean, you've got as much as we hate to, we have to give them credit. They have stuck to some kind of philosophy. They've stuck to developing their young squad, and it's paying dividend now. And hats off to them from a football point of view. This is actually what we like to see is this kind of vision and plan. Like for the longest time, I really didn't buy into it. I thought it was not at all a consistent approach from them. But anyway, now we're here, and I'm more worried about our situation than thinking about theirs. It really, I'm exactly, you guys touched on it. I'm worried about our slow defenders going up against these wingers and so on, So yeah.
So how do you combat it then, Jory? What would you do on Sunday in terms of team selection or formation? What are you thinking?
So I've been thinking about that. I think we need to do a 3-5-2, honestly, and I think we need to have Kane drop deep to have an overload in the midfield often, and even to help with the defensive work. I'm also thinking whoever in training is showing the most aggression and strength and pace in of the midfielders, that's the guys you need to start. We need to be doing tactical fouls in the midfield. We don't want to let them get in behind. Basically, we'll rather risk the cards in the midfield, I think. But I also think like the way for us to get joy is simply for Sonny to again get back to running in behind. And I see that happening with Kane dropping deep and delivering those amazing assists that he does to Sonny. I mean, when they're clicking like that, I think any even a young pacey squad like Arsenal will struggle to defend against that. But yeah, it's a little bit weird, because usually we approach our home game offensively. I wouldn't say we need to be defensive in our approach, but we certainly can't be naive, and we need to compensate for our slow pace in our back line for sure.
So when you say compensate for our slow pace, does that imply you want to keep Perisic and Doherty in those positions, or would you consider changing the way?
Well, that's the thing, and that's maybe the discussion, and I would love to hear your take on it, because that's the thing, if you have Doherty, we're definitely going to be using our best man going forward in the right wing back role, but defensively, I'm not looking forward to seeing him up against Martinelli or something like that, but then do you sacrifice that? And Royale hasn't been great in any way. I mean, he's now lost his crazy ability to have confidence without really maybe having a reason for it, but he seems more shaky defensively now than he's done previously. So I don't think it's an obvious, okay, let's just be secure defensively and have Royale in there. Of course, Romero is key, I think, in all of this. Whoever is going to be out there, Romero needs to control that side and needs to basically remote control defensively whoever is there, and then cover the rest himself. But I don't have the answer. I mean, I think you would have to go with Doherty, going on recent form and all of that. And Doherty is maybe not the worst defensively, but I really, I've never I can't remember a game where I thought of, wow, Doherty really held the fort for us there, whereas there's plenty of games with Emerson where that has happened, and I wouldn't be surprised if Conte actually went that way. But for me also, I think like if I was in Conte's shoes, I would try to mitigate as much as possible with the midfield, not with the back line, because no matter what back line you put in there, if somebody runs in behind, we're kind of in trouble, no matter who's there anyway, So apart from Romero is, and actually Sanchez is maybe also the only one that can chase up like a Saka or something and get a tackle in, But and who knows, maybe that's an option there as well. I don't know. What are you guys thinking in terms of backline?
Yeah, I'm kind of undecided as well, to be honest. I kind of feel like Emerson might have the attributes to deal with Martinelli than Doherty does, because I'm not really a big fan of defensively Doherty. I'm fine with him going forward in games where we can go and attack, but I just feel like the threats that Saka and Martinelli pose, I just can't see Perisic and Doherty dealing with that, especially when we have both of them.
No, not both of them exactly. I think I think that you're really asking for trouble.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm kind of conflicted because I I think you need one of Perisic, Doherty there, just for the fact that I think you need to ask Arsenal some questions going the other way as much as you need to answer their questions defensively. Like you need to give Arsenal something to think about in the wide areas going back. Otherwise, Saka and Martinelli are getting pushed right up the pitch, and you're not going to be able to pen them back. At least if Perisic is there, Saka knows he has to track back because he can't allow Perisic to get a free run there. So
Exactly.
so that's what I'm thinking. But I don't know. But I think both of them were in trouble because I think I was saying before. I think Doherty. I don't think Martinelli is particularly worried about Doherty because he's not very good at dribbling or crossing. He's very good at getting in the box, but he's not very good at taking people on like someone like Perisic potentially is.
Exactly.
So I think Martinelli could kind of half cheat, couldn't he? He can kind of say, look, Doherty's going forward, but I can stay up a bit because if he loses the ball, I'm going to have all that space.
And also, like Martinelli, also away. I mean, many wingers does it, but especially Martinelli, I feel like he can really go in and out of battles all down the line, and that's something you actually see from, if we're thinking about defense, who's gonna be our battling right fullback defender? That has to be Emerson in my mind, really. And I would tend to, now that we're talking about it, I would probably go with Emerson on the right and then Perisic on the left, But there's it's not an easy answer, at least. I mean, and we know why, we don't really need to rehash that, I would then, on the other side, I would probably go for Davis on the left and Langley in the middle and Dyer on the bench. Davis would be fine because he has the experience, I think, and is maybe more of a battling fullback or battling left-sided centre back than Langley, and Dyer. I would just hate to see one of his mistakes, be the thing that tips it over to them, and both for him, but especially for us as well, So I don't know if it's the right time to put that kind of pressure on Dyer. But in general, I think you touched on it, Sim, is if we can alleviate our defense by making them have to sit more back because of the threat going forward, then that's also a strategy I would try and go for.
Well, having said all that, Jory, in terms of the midfield, we've got a decision to make as well, because if Bentancur is out, who do you put next to Højbjerg? Do you put Sarr? Do you put Bissouma? Or do you put Skippy?
I mean, I would probably go for Bissouma, and I think like the default is probably Bissouma, but what I've seen from Sarr has been amazing, and he's the kind of battling, ball carrying, like he has the skills, but I just don't know if Conte and myself would think it's right to start a guy on this is a pressure cooker of a game. I mean, probably in English football, it's maybe the most pressure cooker game in the season, right? So I don't know, but I mean, this is why I said, like, the guys that are showing the most aggression and fight and pace in training is the ones I would be going for. It definitely has to be Højbjerg. That's a no-brainer for me. Hopefully he's gotten some rest and is a little bit more on his game. His touch and passes have been a bit off. Definitely, probably overworked as always. But I think it's probably going to start with Bissouma, and then I would probably say Sarr is the backup plan. Like, if it's not working with Bissouma, bring in Sarr quickly. I would say, actually, don't spend too much time on Bissouma. We know this, we usually see it pretty quickly if Bissouma is finding his game or not, and if it's a not, then get him off quickly and just get Sarr in there instead. So
let me ask you this question, Jory. By the end of the weekend, are we going to have a new top goal scorer at this football club?
Yes, we are. That's for sure. I'm pretty certain of that, and that's my big hope. And I think Conte, because we saw it in the Crystal Palace game. I think Conte basically told the guys in the break, and told Kane and Son, okay, you just do your thing. Like, I've been instructing you. We have a plan. We have things we're working towards. But you guys, you just do your movement as you're used to. And we saw Kane drop, and we saw Sonny get a lot more chances in that last half than he's done in quite a while, So I think we'll see that, and I think Kane is going to be absolutely up for it. I think Kane is on fire right now. And also, to kind of continue on that point, Ben, I do hope and think there's a possibility that we might repeat last year's success, which was not only defeating the Scum, but actually sending them into a downward spiral. And I think if we do that well in this game, that is still a possibility that we can do it. And also, of course, we will be foiling their hopes of a title and so on along the side, So there's a lot to be played for there, So
absolutely, There is a lot riding on this game. But Jory, what's your score prediction?
So I'm afraid we won't keep a clean sheet, but our guys from the middle and forward will do their thing, and it's going to be a 3-1.
Everyone's saying 3-1 today. I'm absolutely loving it. Jory, absolute pleasure to speak to you as always, my friend. And hopefully next time we'll be speaking to you, we'll be speaking to you at 3 points in the North London derby.
Good to see you, Jory.
Come on, you Spurs. 3 points.
Come on. Big up, Jory, as always. Thanks for coming on. Let's go on to our next guest, and it's Mitch. How you doing, Mitch?
Yo, what's happening, lads? Not too bad, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. I've been starting to feel, well, I'm not starting to feel, I've been feeling the nerves all week, to be honest, about this North London derby. But how are you holding up?
Yeah, as you say, I'm feeling pretty nervous, but quietly confident at the same time because, we have to get behind the team and, just manifest the good results to come our way and try and put a dent in Arsenal's confidence at the minute.
Yeah, what is it about you? What brings that confidence to you?
Well, do you know what? I just think that we turn up in the big games at home against Arsenal, and we just have to fall back on that and just go on past results at home against the Scum.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I hope that we do turn up in this game. We've had a couple defeats already this season at home to likes of Newcastle and Liverpool.
We haven't beaten a top 16, by the way, this season.
We haven't beaten the top 16 this season, but do you think that could change on Sunday? And how can we make that happen, do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure because sometimes I get frustrated and even annoyed at the way Conte sets up with 3 central defenders and 2 defensive midfielders, especially against a team like Portsmouth. We should be going out of our way to attack these teams. But yeah, I think with that tactic, it's going to be vital in beating Arsenal this match.
Yeah, and those kind of tactics really play into our hands when we play the likes of the Liverpools, the Man Cities, the Arsenals. And yeah, I get your point. It can definitely help us in this game. But in terms of the personnel we're going to have on the pitch on Sunday, there's a few question marks. Obviously, we've been speaking a lot to everyone that's called in about the wing backs because me and my brother both very worried about the likes of Martinelli and Saka coming up against Doherty and Perisic. Would you start those 2 players, or would you like to see maybe Emerson or a Sessegnon come in?
I definitely would start Perisic. His assists in the amount of games that he's played speak for itself. We need somebody that's a set piece specialist, especially from corners and being able to provide balls into the box. The other side is a huge. I don't know. I'm going to go for it and say Emerson because I think we do need some more defensive solidity. and I'm not really a fan of Doherty. I would, I'd love to have Spence playing, but it's not going to happen.
It's going to be interesting. How much of a boost would it be to have Kulusevski and Bentancur back for this game? And if we don't have either or, who would you like to see in place of them?
I mean, we definitely need Kulusevski, because his power and his strength is going to be vital down on that right hand side. And Bentancur, is it going to be worth starting him or maybe starting someone like Basuma and bringing Bentancur in for the last sort of 20-30 minutes if we need sort of somebody to get us on the front foot? We're desperately lacking creativity in the middle of the park. So yeah, I would like to see Bentancur start, but only if he's fit and he's not going to sort of compromise and not be able to keep up with the pace of the game, really. I think the biggest worry we've got is not giving away too many yellow cards early in the match and end up with a situation like we had against Aston Villa with a whole back line on yellow cards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, Romero's always good for a yellow card, isn't he? But how vital is Romero going to be to us this game? Because you're talking about the defensive frailties we have at wing-backs, and Romero is going to be so key to try and back up, especially Doherty, and even advance us up the pitch.
Yeah, Romero, I think it's going to be the key battle, or the key players in this game for me is going to be Romero and Kane. If them two are on top form, we can win this match.
By what score? What's the score going to be?
I'm going to go either 2-1 or 2-0 and Harry Kane brace. And yeah, he's going to take it and become Tottenham's all-time top goal scorer. And yeah, I can't wait for that to happen.
Loving the confidence. Everyone's so confident coming in. But Mitch, thank you so much for calling in today, my friend.
No worries, lads, man. Come on, you Spurs.
Come
on, Mitch.
Big up to Mitch. Let's keep going.
I just had a few updates, though, surrounding Leandro Trossard, which is quite interesting. Where's he
Get off the phone, Daigle. What are you doing?
He's calling the agent of Trossard.
Oh, that's what he's doing.
De Zerbi has now said in his press conference today that Leandro Trossard is not going to be in the squad for the next game. The last session before last game, when he understood he wasn't playing, he left the session without telling me anything. I told him I don't like his attitude. And that follows on from something he said last week as well. That he's had problems with Trossard's attitude, and that's why he wasn't picked for the Middlesbrough game. So it seems as though all is not well when it comes to between De Zerbi and Trossard. So definitely watch this space. Spurs reportedly very interested in him, and it seems as though, I don't know whether it's because he wants to leave or I don't know what's going on with him, but definitely something going on between De Zerbi and Trossard.
I mean, we have heard from various sources that he does want to leave the club. So maybe that's just like putting all of it together, and it's just winding both of them up, to be honest. So hopefully a deal can get done, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
And Conte's currently doing his presser, so when any quotes come out from that, we'll let you know.
All right, and let's bring on Brian Daigle. Yes, Brian.
Yes, boys. How are you?
You got off the phone? You got a bit of time for us now?
Mate, look, as you know, I've always got time for you. I literally saw Mitch finishing. I was like, I'll call you back, bye. And you just had to mention it, but thank you for that. Yes, I've always got time for you guys. How is everyone?
Yeah, nerves mounting, that's for sure. How are you holding up?
Yeah, this is the 48 hours where everything, just the nerves, the anticipation, the adrenaline, just everything kicks in. The final hour is like a nightmare for me. You guys are going to see me. The final hour is the longest hour in the world. It happens twice a year, and I dread it. I dread it from the moment the team news comes out. It's like, oh shit! But as soon as they kick off, then my nerves settle for some reason. But yeah. It's my first derby since that Christian Ziege free kick that I'll be at, so very excited.
What kind of personnel or formation changes are you looking at for Sunday? What are you thinking?
Do you know what I've heard? I didn't realise you were live for a little while, so I've missed some of the conversation. I don't know what I'm more worried about, defensive partnerships or midfield partnerships, because with Partey and Xhaka being so good in midfield this season, it's a big concern. Because obviously, I've missed it. Is Benson? Have you heard anything? Is Benson Cause definitely out?
We're awaiting team news. We don't know yet.
Okay. So if Benson Cause there, I'm going to feel a lot more relaxed. Although you got to think he hasn't had he hasn't played any football since the World Cup. So how fit is he? But it will make me feel a hell of a lot more relaxed having him there. And I think that partnership with Højbjerg has to be bang on the money. The wrong move, and it could all crumble. And you look at it, Basuma, as good as we all want him to be, and as good as I think he will become at Spurs, I have not enjoyed seeing him when he started. I just haven't. When he's come off the bench, I've been very impressed. Starting, I really haven't. And Sarr, tried and untested in a big game, the biggest of the big. But Ben and I saw him at Palace, and he was good at Palace. He was very good at Palace. And all right, yes, it was only Portsmouth. What he did off the ball, I was really impressed with Sarr. Really, really impressed. And then people say, but he's too young. This is a big game. Well, Ledley King made his debut against Liverpool at home. Japhet Tanganga made his debut against Liverpool at home.
Both games we lost.
Both games we lost, but them two were big pluses, weren't they? I mean, I'm not saying third time's the charm. It's kind of a toss of coin. I don't think Skippy's in the equation. That's what I will say out of the partnership. Skippy ain't up to it this season, unfortunately. So I think it is down to Basuma and Sarr. And if I had to choose, I'm sorry, I am going to say Sarr.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. I agree with you. That's what I was saying as well. I just haven't seen enough from Basuma. And albeit we've only seen a bit from Sarr in sample sizes, I get that. But he just has shown more, hasn't he?
He hasn't. You know what? You look at Basuma and what's his confidence like? What's his mentality like right now? Obviously, it hasn't worked out for him. And he's had Conte having a go at him. And then there's been things saying that he prefers Sarr and the way he's adjusting to it more than Basuma. So is his mentality there? And then you look at a youngster coming in who's like, oh my God, I've got a chance here. What a chance, and what faith the manager has shown in me. This is a real big opportunity. Can he take it? And that we'll have to wait and see. Look, even Ollie Skip against Man City last season on the opening day started so poorly, but ended the game phenomenally. I'm not sure. Well, he finished the game well. So I think that would be my choice in midfield. Defence. That's the big one, isn't it? I mean, Romero obviously starts.
Yeah.
Romero starts, and then I'm at a loss. Apart from Perisic, left wing back, I really am.
Obviously, Doherty has the shirt at right wing back at the moment. So, what are your reservations about starting him?
Let's just say. I don't know if Ben showed you the video I sent you last night, Ben. I don't know if you showed it with Simeon.
Sim saw it on Twitter.
Oh, you saw it on okay, so there we go. We can talk about it openly then. That if you saw it on Twitter with Emerson playing five-a-side football 3 days before a North London derby, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. People get not suspended, like dropped if they're late from meetings. Surely you cannot be considered for a North London derby playing a five-a-side game 3 days before it. I think that's total lack of respect from Emerson. And I would start Doherty. It's the centre two.
I don't even know what the game was or anything. And I mean, how's he ended up playing five-a-side? I don't know what the situation is.
Exactly. Why would you do that, knowing that people are there and with social media?
He's not allowed to do it. I don't understand.
Yeah, but mate, cut Simeon. Surely, 3 days before the biggest of the biggest games for us, a huge game, you don't go and say to your players, "Listen, go and play some football if you want." Surely not, Sim.
I don't know the situation. I don't know. Maybe it's for charity. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, charity maybe. I still just don't.
I got no idea.
Look,
there's a video of him playing. I don't even know how long ago it was. I don't know what's going on. There's a video of him playing five-a-side. If we let it that it was a few days ago, I mean, it's pretty. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is.
Well, either way, we've got team news.
Do we?
Okay, let's do this.
Kulusevski, he says, is ready to play.
Come on.
Thank God.
But Rodrigo and Richarlison, we're going to have to wait on for another training session. So not looking confident on them too.
So that means more time with the medical team, so they're out basically.
He says that he does not rule out Bentancur or Richarlison, but suggests he might be a risk to play them on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? Even if you could have a Bentancur and a Richarlison on the bench, just to make Arsenal ponder and think, what if they do this and what if they do that? And just obviously to add some much needed quality on that bench. Obviously, we'd rather Bentancur starting. There's no way Richarlison, even if fit, was starting this game, except for maybe Hill. But Hill on the right has been good, where Richarlison has been poor. But to have them on the bench will just make Arsenal think, oh, hello, they do have some quality on the bench. Not like we've had the last couple of games, and we've just got to go for the jugular. We keep saying every game, we've got to get off to a fast start. We've got to do it. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. This game more important than others, and forget the league table, forget everything that's going on. We know, Ben, we saw at the stadium on Saturday how dead the atmosphere was. All right, it was Portsmouth in the FA Cup and it weren't Spurs Arsenal, and the crowd will be up for it, but it won't take long for the crowd to be on their backs if they get off to another slow start and Arsenal start dictating and dominating. We cannot allow it. We just cannot.
Yeah, the fans need to do their job. No matter if we're getting dominated, if we're 1-0 down, we need to stick with the team on Sunday. It's a North London derby against them lot. We cannot let them have the upper hand, in the stands as well as on the pitch. We need to keep with the boys, and maybe we can cheer them on into clawing themselves back in the game. But Brian, what is your score prediction?
My score prediction is heart 2-1 Tottenham, head 2-2. But my heart's winning. My heart's winning.
You're the first person that's come on here and not said a Tottenham win. Well, I know you did say it, but as well as.
Well, like I've said to you before, Ben and Tim, I've done this where we come on these streams and we go on these channels and say, yeah, we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win. And now's the best time to play them, and now this and now that. And then it falls flat on our face and you're like, oh, well, I'm really happy there. So I kind of gone through the philosophy that if I go for a draw and we win, I'm happy. But if I go for a win and we draw, I'm pissed off. And I'd rather do it the other way around.
All right, fair enough, Brian. Thanks for coming on today. We'll see you Sunday, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. And as always, Levy out.
Nice one, Brian.
Big
Apparently, Conte has said he respects the decision of the club not to extend Lucas's contract to the end of the season. Says the Brazilian has disrupted his plans for the season. He said he was in my plans for the season. He was in my squad, but we don't have the possibility to use him because of injury. So it looks like all but confirmed now, pretty much officially, that Lucas is definitely leaving at the end of the season.
All right. Let's bring on our next guest, and it's Super Sai. Long time he hasn't been on a call-in show, but big up to Sai. How you doing, my friend?
Guys, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Okay.
This is a first in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, you didn't come on mute. What are the chances?
Crazy. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, nerves are starting to get to me. How are you getting on?
Don't worry. There's nothing to worry about. We will turn up on Sunday, and it will be absolutely fine.
Why? Are you so confident?
Tell me why. Why is it going to be absolutely fine, Si?
Because I have no other choice to think any other way, basically. If I go down the route of nerves and things, I'm not going to enjoy it. So my resolution for this year is to be calm and collected. And
you're definitely being that right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll change my mind on Sunday morning. I'm just saying on a Friday afternoon, work's winding down, and it's very much like in a positive mood. This game, guys, is one of those, isn't it? It's like the fixture of the season that it's almost like form and everything goes out the window. It doesn't matter. Either team could be in either form it wanted to be. It's just about turning up. And the thing with this Sunday, in reality, like I think the biggest thing that will let us down is if we don't turn up with that 120% in mind mentality at the very beginning and take it to them. I don't want to see this sitting back, passing backwards, sideways constantly. We have to go from the get-go. And it's something, to be fair, I haven't seen this, or maybe like one game in the last season or 2 seasons, maybe even longer than that, where we haven't done that. And that infuriates me. So it's, in my opinion, I think it's about setting that first 10 minutes, setting the bar and going for this. And if we can do that, I think we've got this. I think we've got this in the bag. We'll take it to them. There's a bit more pressure coming onto Arsenal now as well, especially with I know the points are still quite big between them and City, but I think that the last couple of weeks, the way the results have gone and what's coming, I think it's a really good opportunity for us to bend that top 2, really. We got City in a couple of weeks as well. So it's going to be really interesting, to see how this plays out. But for me, and I really hope that Richarlison is available for this in some capacity, because I think this is the game for him, that type of player, to really wind them up, get into them. He's the only player out of that 11 I would suggest that could really get inside the heads of those Arsenal
and Romero
players.
Potentially.
Yeah. And the problem is with those two is they could also go the other way and become the problem where they get sent off if they do it in the wrong way and at the wrong time. So we saw last year, we were obviously all at that game together. And I think like the biggest swing for that game is we played like we always do. It wasn't great, but that sending off switched us. I don't want to wait for that kind of moment. I just want us to go out with the passion, with the energy of the fans. Hopefully we're a bit more atmospheric than we have been, for the rest or prior to this game, because it has been dull, and I don't blame us, to be honest, because it's been pretty boring football to watch most of the time and no energy or anything like that. So, how big a game can you make this and make the players understand like what this means to everyone? So that's why I'm calm about it. I'm calm about it because I can't really affect that other than shouting my head off on Sunday when I'm there, to just come to this game with a nice, relaxed approach and just hope that Conte has drilled enough into them to be like, we can't keep playing the way we have been. We need to come out on this one and hopefully set a precedent for the rest of the season. I'm tired of it a bit now. So let's see, guys. Like, I think I'm in a positive mood about it. So
there's a few personnel, issues that we've got in the squad at the moment with the wing backs, with the midfield. In terms of the wing backs, would you be happier sending Doherty and Perisic out there with Martinelli and Saka on their wings, or would you think about changing it?
I don't think we have a choice. Throughout this season and maybe a couple seasons, Sessegnon is not up to scratch. I hate to say that, but it's factual. It's true. Like even the Portsmouth game, it was like he couldn't even beat League One wing backs and the team there. So it concerns me massively that if he was to start that game, I think Doherty out of those right back players that we've got is probably the one that's arguably proven. And I'm not saying he's the best option out there. I do think we need to strengthen that position. I think everyone knows that, but like it's all we've got, so there's no choice. So if I was having to pick out of those three, it would have to be him. In an ideal world, in my world, I would love to see Spencer. I think he needs the starting capacity. Is Arsenal a good game to do that or not? Who knows? We won't know unless that's actually picked. But
ask Danny Rose. Ask Danny Rose.
Yeah, well, we all know that Conte's not going to pick him, so it's a boring, relevant conversation anyway. So Doherty is going to be the right wing back for sure, and I can't imagine anyone but Perisic being chosen for that left side, and purely probably because of the experience. And we need those balls in the box. I think his assisting stats are very good this year. I think he could be a bit better, but I think the whole team could be better. So it's not possible to single out individual players all the time. That comes with the fruition of like how the team develops and plays itself anyway. So for me, those two are basically the only options we got anyway. So in my head, they're going to be chosen. There's probably no doubt about it. And then the central defensive partnerships, Brian made some good points just before me. Obviously, Romero is a given if he's fit and free to play or whatever. Then it's a question of, well, who plays with him? And I can only probably imagine that it would be Dyer because of his experience of playing in these type of games. Whether he's good enough, or people's opinions of him are good, that he's good enough to be in this team or not, or should be dropped, is you sometimes weigh up with these kind of games. Okay, he might not be massively reliable all the time, but the fact of the matter is he's played in these games before. And actually, one of the big credits I would give Dyer is his passion when it comes to games like this. He does tend to have his head screwed on a bit more in the big games like this than he does with the other ones. But that could be a curse that I say this now. He might do some crazy looping backward passes or own goals or something. Who knows? But that's probably where we're going to see that back four. Well, if obviously with the wing backs we have that third one, and I could again probably see Davies take that up. I'm not sure if I don't know how it works really, but like with players like Longley and everything, if they have to be incorporated into the philosophy of what kind of game this is, I don't know. Maybe they should be professional enough to just play the game regardless. But we haven't got many options really, have we? So that's what I would see at that back, I think.
But central midfield's an interesting one. Conte's alluded to maybe Bentancur might not be ready for this game, and it could be a risk to play him. He's got one more training session to see if he will play. But let's say, for argument's sake, he doesn't play. Who would you like to see slotting alongside Højbjerg?
Well, this is quite an interesting one because I'm a big fan of Skip. Like he's got incredible talent. He's had a massive injury, and it takes a long time to come back. I still don't think he's ready for this kind of game to be chucked into, in all honesty. Basuma, I'm still questioning as to where he kind of like fits in this team properly, and like has he got that balanced approach yet? So the only real kind of like leading midfielder, if Bentancur's like out still, is the argument that Sarr starts. Now he's had a great start in the last couple of games, but this is very, very different to those two games, honestly. But it could literally be a point that if Bentancur's not there and there's no trust or the requirement yet of the level that Conte wants to require in that position, that's the only kind of probably the partnership that I could see occurring. I don't know what everyone else in the comments and stuff has been saying about that, but in my mindset, that's how I can see it happening, really. And again, if Sarr does have that composure that he's had over the last two games, and perhaps that's maybe what we need, is some stabilization and actually some forward thinking, because in honesty, this whole season, he's probably the only player I've seen, bar a couple of other occasions in some games, he's been the only like forward thinking player that actually goes, I'm going to run forwards, I'm going to pass forwards, not unless backwards when he actually needs to. So there's a bit of a dilemma there, because actually maybe he's that difference that we need to encourage a bit more of a different philosophy with the rest of the teams. We actually we need to go forwards, guys, not backwards. And we can't drop back. We can't allow Arsenal to come into this game. There's no way about it. And Arteta's a very clever manager. It's not like we can play this offside trap stuff that we tried to do many times in the past. And I think that midfield is very important to hold and safeguard that defence, which can be wobbly at times, but also have that ability to push forward when we need to. We must get that balance sorted. So out of those three outside of Bentancur, I would actually say, albeit based on two games, I'd actually like to see that refreshed approach of Sarr starting the game. And I think he could definitely match up to the magnitude of this game as well. That's how I see it anyway.
I agree with you, and we were having a bit of a debate before. I think Sim was siding with Basuma, I was siding with Sarr, but we will see how we go. Sim, you want to ask something?
No, just go for prediction.
All right, prediction, Si? Sim doesn't want anything to do with you.
No, I don't want to see.
Well, I always generically say 3-1, so I'm just gonna. This actual game, to be fair though, I think is going to be very tight. I actually probably think it's going to be more of a 2-1. If there's a sending off for Arsenal, it'll be 3-1, but I'm going 2-1 as a generic safeguard approach. I think we've got enough in this. and enough momentum off the last couple of games, albeit the last one wasn't amazing. I think we need to take that Palace mentality in to this one, and we could push that, you know, over the line. I think so. That's what I'm thinking.
All right, loving it, Si, loving it. See you on Sunday, my friend.
Yeah,
and,
see you on Sunday, guys.
Yeah, have a good build-up, my friend. See you soon.
Yeah, love
to
Ash in the background as well, and nice to see Brian on Sunday as well.
Big up.
Nice one, guys.
Cheers, Si.
Conte has been hinting that he wants Spurs to sign a replacement for Lucas this January. After he's been ruled out pretty much the whole season for injury. He says, we started the season with Lucas as one of my 5 strikers. We now play with 3, and then Lucas was one of the 5. Instead, because of his injury, I faced a season with only 4 strikers, and then, you know, with Gil, he's a very young player, a really good prospect, and last season he struggled with the physical aspect, but we're trying to accelerate his physical aspects. Lucas, from the start of the season, I've counted on him, but it could help to have another option to help us, and I count on Lucas, but he's never been present to help us. So it sounds like he is calling for the board to
Lucas
give him some help.
out, Trossard in, people.
Well, looking like more likely at the moment.
It is looking more likely.
I'll take Trossard as a Lucas replacement for sure.
Yeah, who wouldn't at this current state? Is this our last caller? All right, best till last apparently. Last caller of the day. Big up Ashmatic. Let's get him on.
Come on,
Ashmatic. How you doing, man?
Yes, Ben and Sim. Well, go on.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone's coming on here predicting 3-1 wins, 5-0 wins, 2-1 wins. I don't know if it's just like pre-match confidence or just full-out delusion, or do we actually have a chance here? What's your thoughts?
I can't see how Arsenal, in so much form, are going to lose 3-1. All it being is like one game, take a game by game. It's North London derby. The crowd's going to be behind the boys, the excitement, the energy, all the rest of it. I still can't see it. At the moment, we are the set piece kings. So I see if we're going to score a goal first, because I think the first goal is important. If we are going to win this game, it's going to be via a set piece. And also maybe a penalty of some sort, or like something off the back of a set piece. I think Spurs can get into the game. We can cause problems.
So basically just shithouse our way to victory. Is that what you're saying?
Basically. Because I remember the whole season, we're like, oh, when Tottenham click, it's just going to be... And I'm still waiting for that click, bro. I'm still waiting for that click. And the funny thing is, like, I remember when Arsenal played Chelsea in the friendly, and Arsenal were looking fire, and they smashed up Chelsea. Look at Chelsea now, and look at Arsenal now. And then I think they haven't fallen off. They just haven't fallen off. And I go to Arsenal and I look at their weaknesses and I think, where could Arsenal capitulate? Where could we find a way in through Arsenal? And the only way I see we could worm our way in through Arsenal, because let's face it, they're going to have the ball a lot. It's not like we're going to match them for like ball possession. I think they'll have a lot of the ball. Not to say that we're not going to have the ball, but I just think they're going to have a lot of it. I just think the best way in for us is obviously when Zinchenko comes off the left side to create the 2 for Thomas Partey, and you got Xhaka pushing up, Odegaard pushing up, and then you've got Nketiah in the middle. There's going to be space on that right-hand side for Kulu to penetrate. So it's down for Kulusevski and Doherty, if Doherty starts, to kind of like really take advantage of that space and run in behind and create loads of problems. I don't want to see Son dropping deep. A lot of the time this season, Son's played either too wide or too deep. And when he's too deep or too wide, what he does is he picks up the ball and he tries to dribble his way out of trouble. Instead of linking up the play, maybe creating a 2, making a little diamond, linking up with the wing back like Perisic, he's not doing that. He's trying to dribble his way and keeps losing the ball. And he's too far wide out. I see him crossing the ball. I see him trying to shoot. But he's not literally, I need him in that. I need him up top. I need him up like a striker. I need Kane just in behind, and I need Son doing that diagonal run, that inside forward run in that half space, in between the lines. Literally, when they're pressing onto us, I need Son on his bike. And that's when we scored against Palace. That's when we looked dangerous. Even last time when we scored against Arsenal, it was through Son. Son did that direct run, and then he did a bad pass to Richie. And then Richie retrieved the ball back, and then obviously it led into a penalty, and that Kane scored. But that's what I need to see Son. I don't need to see Son out. Like, why is it that Perisic and Son, since they've been together, they're not linking up? Like, I would like to see, if Son's gone far wide, I need to see Perisic on the inside of him. And that, you know, that inside half space, I need Perisic to start taking more shots. Like, I remember when he scored that banger against Arsenal in Champions League. Yeah. For I think it was for Dortmund. Like, I need to see that. I need to see that Perry. Yeah, where's that Perry? That's what I thought we were siding.
He's too
Perry's
busy getting assists.
shots.
He's too busy getting assists, bro. 8 assists.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. But I need Perry on shots. If Son's not gonna bang shots and Son's going wide, I need Perry to be on job, and I need Perry to be banging them shots. If not, just keep Perry Son up top. I want to see Son like this, yeah, with a mask. You know, like the mask. Yeah. I don't want to see him do the Harry Kane and go, rip it off. I just want to see him rip it off and go mad. You know, like how Kane did it. Are you nuts? Go mad, and the crowd be going crazy. That's what I need to see, that energy. Oh my days. But yeah, if Kane breaks it, if Kane scores, like, especially the first goal, oh my days. Spurs, it's gonna be really hard for Arsenal. Now, let's talk about the middle, because I know we're gonna get there. We might as well get out of the way.
We're getting there. Get out of the way.
So, get out of the way. Like, we're talking against Bissouma versus Sarr. Now, Sarr for me has the mobility, has the physicality, has the technical ability. He just looks ready. He just looks comfortable in a 2, where Bissouma hasn't looked ready in a 2. However, it's a bit like Brian Hill. Brian Hill, when he's come on and when he started, has looked good. But it's the end product I'm missing from Brian Hill. In those final moments, I'm missing that end product from Brian Hill. So with Sarr, obviously, I don't know how good he is when it comes to becoming the attacking side of the double pivot. Defensively, no doubt. And I'm not saying he can't bring the ball forward. He's not doing the right things, and I do like to see it. But against a top team like Arsenal, is he going to get that opportunity to show that attacking side? Because for me, Højbjerg I'll say of late, Højbjerg of late hasn't really been that progressive attacking player. And he hasn't been that super defensive player either. The last couple of games, I haven't really seen that much from Højbjerg, and I want to see a lot more from him. I've seen Højbjerg go missing. I've seen Højbjerg drop back into the centre-back role certain times. You know, like what you see Rodri does for Man City, and he just drops into the centre-back role. You're like, what are you doing? I need you to protect. I need you to stay in that hole. I need you to cover that area. He kind of just drops off. So I want to see Bissouma, if he starts, just be a DM. I don't even want him to progress the ball. I know he's got it in his locker, but I would prefer if Bissouma just sits, because I just feel like he's a better ball winner than Højbjerg, and I think he's better defensively. So I prefer Bissouma just to sit there in that pocket of space and to soak up that pressure, because you know what Partey's about. Partey's going to be looking to Fred Xhaka, because Xhaka's going to be doing that late run into the box. You know what Martinelli's going to be doing? Martinelli's going to be coming down that left-hand side, and then Xhaka's going to be making a 2, and they're going to do little 1-2s, making a triangle, making it hard for us. And then sometimes Nketiah will come across. So whoever's on that right-hand side for us, going to be Doherty and probably Romero, I've seen them being troubled by Martinelli. And then vice versa on the other side, Perisic and Longley or Davies, if it is, I've seen Saka. They stand off Saka, then Saka's got enough space to come inside and shoot. So, like, Højbjerg's going to have to come along on that side and help out. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But it just creates spaces and pockets and holes all over the pitch. And that's when, remember, Partey came up in that pocket of space when we were too deep and scored. Do you know what I'm saying? I want to see Spurs higher up the pitch. I don't want to see us in a high press, mid. middle, preferably
But
middle.
with a 3-4-3, because it could
With a 3-4-3 because
with a
Kulu's
3-4-3?
fit. Because Kulu's fit. Unless it's a 3-5-2 and I don't know. The 3-5-2 hasn't worked for us this season. As much as I like the idea of it, it hasn't worked. The only game it worked for us, really, I think, was against Poole. But look at Poole, man. Liverpool being very poor this season. So no wonder it worked. But when we tried it against other sides, it wasn't working. So I'm thinking, does 3-5-2 really work for us? Do you know what I'm saying? I've got my question marks about it. So I just think stick with what's working. Why change the 3-4-3? I'm not saying that's been great, but it's been better than the 3-5-2. Now that Kulu's back, unless we do what we did to Son before, and I know he's not going to do that, and put him on the bench and piss him off, and then make Son jump off the pitch on an angry tip, just on a mad one, and just like bang goals, like, oh no, Son's just come off the bench. Oh my days, like, yeah, one of those ones. But yeah, I doubt it. I do like the fact that, you know, if Rich is there on the bench, like Si was saying, big up Si, man. But like, I do like Rich being on the bench. There's presence there, and if he could come off, he to me, he's an angry wasp. That's why I describe Richarlison. He's an angry wasp, and he's trying to get his honey, and he's gonna be a nuisance in that defense. No, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. Listen, he's a problem. He doesn't even need
We'll
to
call
do
him an
anything.
angry
Like, the
bee.
way he
We'll
won
call
that
him an
penalty-
angry bee.
All right, angry bee then, angry bee or angry pigeon. Yeah, he's an angry pigeon. He's an angry pigeon.
All right, we'll settle for that.
I think that's the key, man. Look, we haven't seen enough of that counter-attacking Spurs play. Because if I said to you guys, what is Spurs style of play this season?
Yeah,
What would you say?
Like, I just
Shit.
yeah.
And this is why we're nervous going into the North London derby. You see what I'm trying to say? We haven't been that counter-attacking team that we. But I tell you what, when we do go direct, we are a problem. We are.
We've been we have been stifled massively by injuries this season. That is what held us back this season. It really has.
We have. But we need that two-touch football. When we do that two-touch football, quick into feet, boom, 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 and then Son's on his bike, Kane's there to pin the centre back, and then they don't know whether to go with him or leave him, or do you know what I'm trying to say? And then Son's making those deep runs in. That's when we're going to hurt teams. And now we've got Kulu back. Kulu's got the brain. He can either pull super wide and then create holes in that little half space. So when Kulu pulls super wide, it allows Doherty to come inside and then get on the ball and then create chances for either Son or Kane or even Højbjerg, because Højbjerg can run in from deep and he can be our number 8. Do you understand? Like how Xhaka is for Arsenal. Do you understand? So I just think Kulu's the key. He likes pulling wide, but sometimes he likes to keep it a bit more narrow with the front three. And when the front three are narrow, they're closer to each other. They can do the 1-2, the link up, the triangles. And we look better when we're in that kind of, when the front three play closer to each other. It just hasn't been coming off this season, but I think that's when we look most of a threat. But yeah, I'm not worried about, everyone's worried about Dyer. Dyer will be fine. For me, Eric Dyer has to be a leader because he's the only voice that's going to bark at the midfield to get out. Sometimes when we're getting pressed, especially the first 15 or 20 minutes or 10 minutes, you know Arsenal are going to come at us. You know it. We're going to drop deep. We're going to drop deep. So you need Dyer to bark at them. Get out. Get out. He needs to be a boss. And he needs to push Bissouma out and he needs to push Højbjerg out. I don't need them to be extra centre-backs. Do you understand? We need them to push slightly higher up and then start moving up the pitch. And then Conte always says, I don't tell him to drop all this way back. I don't tell him. Do you know what I mean? And that's why we're second half FC, because personality-wise, we need a change. We need players we need less nice guys, basically. Like, we've been nice guys FC for too long. Like, with, Marino called it out. He said, guys, you are nice guys, you know? But you need to be a bastard. That's what we need, man. We need bastards on our pitch, and we need to push up. We need to be aggressive. We need to be physical. We need to be fast, and we need to have football IQ, football intelligence. That's what we're lacking at Spurs. Someone that can see the picture before it happens. Someone can see they're about to counter-attack us when we've got the ball, when we're in their half, someone just needs to be switched on. All right, cool, they might counter us. All right, Basuma, don't press too high. Because that's why I see Basuma when he doesn't play too well. When he presses, sometimes I see him pressing high at the pitch. I'm like, there's so much space in behind. I hope one of the wing backs are covering you, because as soon as they counter, we're in trouble. Do you understand? So it's just, we just need the confidence, especially midfield. The confidence needs to be there. The talking needs to be there at the back. We need leaders at the back. We need confidence in the middle, and Kane does the rest. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And then Son, I just don't want to see Son out wide. I'm sorry. I don't want to see, like, Kulu can do it. I don't mind Kulu out wide, but I don't want to see Son. I want Son in the half space, or I want him central, up top, just in front of Kane, or running in from behind. That's all. That's all.
All right.
Predictions, Ashmatic?
1-0 to Arsenal. I'm joking. You
Don't even joke about these kind of things, bro.
No, I'm playing. Yeah, I'll go for the 2-1 Spurs, because you know what it is? I'm a big believer in speaking it into existence. So 2-1, fans being the 13th man. We're going to rattle FC, because they cannot win. If they win, it's like, to them, it's going to feel like they've won the league. It will, because they haven't won us for ages. So it is vital. And Conte, this is Conte's, you know, like like some of the fans are split, like, oh, Conte's negative football, blah, blah, blah. This is Conte's, one of his biggest games right now. I'll tell you that now.
It's true.
Conte needs to turn up. I need to see Conte barking, running up the line, going mad, getting yellow cards by the ref, warnings. I need them to be losing it. I
think Conte and Arteta are going to have it out this weekend. I really
think I need them to punch up Arteta. I need them to pull up, do mafioso on Arteta. Put him in a headlock at least. Yeah.
Give him a noogie as well. Why not?
Yeah, give him an old school noogie. Yeah, man.
Ashmatic, looking forward to you on the watch along as well Sunday. You and Marlon, you excited for it?
Bro. Yeah, very excited. I'm just doing some prep now. So I'll be ready for the big occasion. Lots of fun, lots of games, lots of energy, and hopefully we can do it.
Right.
Yeah, man. I hope you guys enjoy it as well up there, man. I want to hear your voices.
You'll hear them. Don't you worry about that. But Ashmatic, thank you so much for coming on, my brother, and we'll speak to you soon.
Love people. Big up.
On.
Peace.
Yeah, so if you want to see those opinions on the watch along, do tune in 4:15 on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff with Ashmatic and Marlon on the watch along. Me and my brother will be in the stadium getting all the action in and outside the stadium for the North London derby. That is all we have time for today, but more content coming your way. Antonio Conte's press conference up next. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
come on you Spurs.